Hello everyone, today we're going to be fixing up a vintage Star Wars Kenner Imperial Troop Transport. This one only has a few issues that we need to take care of, so let's get to it. So first off, this one needs a good cleaning. It's not too bad, but you see there is dirt on here and sticker residue, and we should be able to take care of that with some warm soapy water and get all of that off. You'll also notice that there's no decals anywhere on this. Either they weren't applied or they've fallen off. Taking a look, it doesn't look like I see much glue residue from where the stickers would normally be. So I would imagine the stickers were just never put on, but they may have been and just fallen off. But we will take care of that as well. And it does have a couple broken parts as well too. The side pod here, you can see that one of the clips has broken off. The other one has a big stress mark on it. And additionally, there's 3 wheels on the bottom, and this one here in the front, part of the axle is broken off. So we have replacements for the pod as well as this wheel that we'll put on and take care of those. Before you go to clean a vehicle or a figure, it is a good idea to take it apart as much as possible. For vehicles, these vintage Kenner vehicles, usually you can take them apart with not too much effort. And that way, when you have them in separate pieces, it's really easy to submerge them in water, give them a good scrub down, and get them really clean. Now, if you have decals still on your vehicle and you want to keep them and they're in decent shape, you can't do that. You really have to spot clean. But in this case, when we have no decals on here at all, we can take it completely apart as much as we can and then give it a good scrub down, let it dry, and then go from there. So in order to do that on this troop transport, we will take off as many of the parts as we can, and most of them we can pull apart and then go from there. So to start with, on this troop transport, the first thing we're going to do is take off the pods. Now sometimes these are a little difficult to get off, but I'll show you how best to approach that. So what you want to do is, on the bottom here, there's a little part that clips into the body. Now this pod here is already damaged, and it's going to come off quite easily because it's missing a peg. But you want to press down or press up on the bottom of the pod and pull it away from the body. So it came unclipped, and then you'll want to kind of rotate that out. So you see that it kind of slides in, clips there, and then clips in the bottom when we go to put it back on. So we'll take that one off, and then we will go around and hopefully not break any of these. Most of the pods are in pretty good shape. And we'll get this one here. And that comes unclipped. And that one's in good shape. I don't see any stress marks. Turn it around here and go on the other side. And that one comes unclipped. Looks good. No stress marks, no breaks. We'll take off this one. Still looking good. And then the final one here came off super easy, and it looks good as well. Now we do have for a replacement pod for this broken one that came off of a donor transport that I was able to trade for. So we're going to set that broken one to the side because we're not going to use that one anymore. The next thing we're going to do is take off the doors. And when we're doing this, we want to be very careful not to break this hinge because it can be a little fragile. So if you open the door here and then kind of just tilt it and slide it out here and hope we don't damage it. Take your time, try not to force it, because forcing it will certainly make it more likely you're going to damage this door. And there we go. It didn't break, but as you can see, it's already had some stress marks here. So we'll be very careful when we put this back on. Now we'll take it off the second door. I'm going to turn it upside down here so we can see it. And again, just kind of work it out of the hinge here. And you can see here where there's a stress mark was already there before I started trying to remove this door. So if we don't get it out fairly, oop, there we go. So if we don't get it out fairly easily, in order not to break it, you can leave it on there. It's just a little harder to get clean and dry. So that's both doors off of there. So now we've got our 6 pods and our doors off. All right, and we'll get those out of the way and off to the side. Next thing we're going to do is take off this little radar here. It has 2 clips at the bottom that clip in, and then there's a little peg here that doesn't really snap in. So you want to pull, and this is really hard to do on camera, but you want to pull the bottom of the sides up, and you can see I've got this one clip out, and then get the other side out as well, and drop it on the floor. All right, next, the easiest part of the outside pieces is the battery cover. And there's 2 clips, one in the front, one in the back. You just squeeze in the front and back, and it comes right off. So that's the easiest piece on the outside to remove. We'll set that to the side. So the next step is to remove the bottom from the body. So this gray part being the body, and the bottom being black, this black part here. There are 3 screws, one in the front here and 2 kind of in the middle. And so we'll just unscrew those. Doesn't really matter which order you take them out of. And these are standard Kenner screws that are used in most of the vehicles. So we'll set this to the side here. Screws fine, doesn't need any cleaning. And then remove the other 2. Now these, you can see, are way deep down in there, so we may need some tweezers or something when we got to put it back together. And there are 2 screws. The next step is to remove the bottom black part from the gray body. So there's 2 clips left that clip into the bottom of the body that we need to remove. This can be one of the more difficult parts of disassembling this vehicle. So take your time, realize that the black plastic is softer and more flexible than the gray, so you have to put pressure on anything. You want to put it on the black plastic rather than the gray, because the gray will get brittle and tend to break, and if you put pressure on it, you can end up with stress marks. So we're gonna use a small flathead screwdriver to unclip the bottom here, and this is difficult even off camera, but Let's see what we can do. And there we go. So you see I put pressure on this clip, not the gray plastic, and it kind of popped out by pulling up on the bottom. And then the other side, I know comes unclipped a little bit easier. And make sure you don't reclip the other side while you're working on the second. So there we've got both of the sides unclipped. And now we can kind of lift this bottom off. And in the back here, you have to rotate the bottom to get it free of the body. So we lift this up, and then this peg here matches up with the hole in the body, and you can kind of just slide it out. And the same thing on the other side, it's the same mechanism when it already came out. There we go. So now we have the bottom freed from the top half. And as you can see, quite dirty, dusty, and dingy. But because we now have this separate, there's no decals on this, we can wash it right up. The other thing we have is this wheel here, where we have the broken axle, and we can go ahead and just take that out because we know we're going to be replacing it. And there's two clips, one on each side, that hold it in place. You can kind of just pull that out, and there's our free wheel, our broken wheel. So you see this has only one axle on one side, whereas the wheel should have an axle on both sides so it'll clip in. So this is again a replacement from a donor transport that I got. So we'll put that wheel back in here. Now, since we're going to be washing it, we'll set it to the side for now and pull out these other two wheels so that we can wash those separately. I think there was some hair wrapped around them. So again, anything you can get apart without too much effort and wash separately is always a good idea. So let's see if we can get this wheel out of here. And again, this is soft, so you can put a little bit of pressure on it. Don't want to put so much on it you break it, but you can put a little pressure on the sides. Outside's a little easier because this has a support here in the middle, whereas this doesn't. So we got the one wheel out, and we'll just show and pull this back, and the wheel comes out. And we'll set this to the side. So we can completely submerge this, wash it down, and give it a good scrubbing with a toothbrush, and it'll be good to go. So let's set that to the side for now. Now that we've got the bottom off, most of the outside parts off, we will take a look at the sound box. Now this one does work, and I'll show you at the end of the video. So we want to make sure that we don't damage it or jostle it around. What this is inside here is a motor with a little record that has the sounds on it. So when you press the button, it puts a needle down on that record and makes a sound. So it's kind of a fragile little system there. So first things first, this back part right here just slides out. It's not glued or screwed in at all. So, and then it will unclip here. Now we don't want to wash this or submerge this switch and get water in this electronics. So let's unclip the connections here to the battery compartment. All right. If we look on the other side here, That's where the battery compartment is. It looks, and I know it looks a little bit dingy and dirty, but it works perfectly fine. And so I haven't tried to get it bright and shiny because you don't see it. So as long as it works and you don't see significant corrosion where it might hurt the battery, we're going to leave it be. Now, since this battery compartment is literally just some copper riveted to the plastic, we don't have to worry about getting this wet too much. So the connection to the from the switch to the sound box has these metal clips, and I don't want to start unclipping this stuff where I would have to resolder it since it's original already. What we do want to do is remove the sound box from the body, and the sound box actually holds in the top parts with the radar and the gun. So when we take the sound box out, we'll also be able to take out the radar mount, the gun mount, and the gun. So the way this comes undone is there's 3 screws on top, and we will unscrew those. And right now they're kind of suspending that sound box. So I'm just going to put my hand under here so it doesn't just flop out when I remove this last screw. Again, these screws are standard Kenner screws that they use for pretty much all their vehicles. All right, so we've got the 3 screws removed. Turn this over and make loud noises, and we can gently remove the sound box. As you can see, the gears for the radar and the turret are in there, and you can kind of see how they turn with this out of here. It's not a full gear here, so it doesn't turn 1 to 1. So now we have the sound box here and the switch and these cables that go to the switch. Now, if you can pull these off and wash this piece up a little bit, I would say go ahead and do it. If not, if these won't come unclipped, and this isn't too terribly dirty, you don't see this. The only part you see is this back here if you open up the back of the vehicle. So because it's all this electronics that are in here, I would for sure avoid getting any water anywhere near this, as well as the switch. So if you can unclip this and do a little spot cleaning on this, that's fine. These don't want to come unclipped, and because I know the sound box works, I don't want to force these and pull these off, so I'm going to leave them be. And we'll just set that to the side. So now we have the sound box off and set to the side. We can see these gear here. So this is the radar mount, and it just slides in there. It's not screwed or anything like that. It's held up by the sound box we just removed. So we'll set that to the side. Same thing with the guns. It slides in there on this little gear. And then we have the guns here. This is a kind of soft plastic, and you can remove the guns, but you do want to be careful. These front parts of the gun do have a tendency to want to break off. So you just want to be careful when we remove that. And it can't go out the other way because it has this little kind of bridge in the middle, so it does have to come out at the bottom. But again, try not to put stress on these as much as possible, or as little as possible. So here's the guns. You can see they're a little bit bent, but not bad at all, and there's no stresses. You could probably drop that in some really hot water and get them back straight. I wouldn't advise doing that just because how fragile these are. So we'll set these to the side. Now finally, we have got the body free of all the parts that we possibly can. The only parts that we can't get off of this are these battery contacts because they are riveted in, and to remove them would be some serious work and repair and gluing. So anything that's riveted in, you don't want to try to remove. So now that we have all of the parts undone, I'm going to show you all of the parts, and then we're going to wash them, dry them, and come back. Got everything taken apart as much as we can. So the pieces we have are the main body, the 2 doors, the 6 pods on the sides, the radar mount, the radar, the battery cover, 3 wheels, the gun mount, the bottom piece here. All of this we can wash. And we also have the sound box and the switch plate that goes in that we are not going to wash. We're going to leave it as is. It's fine. It works. And we don't generally see it. So we're going to leave that be. But the rest of this, we're going to go give a good wash and dry now. We've given everything a good scrubbing with warm soapy water, and now we're going to just rinse everything off and dry it, and then we'll be ready for the next step. Everything has now been cleaned and dried, and we're ready to start putting everything back together. So we have all the parts here. I'm going to move them off to one side, and then we'll put everything back together piece by piece.